If there is one person in the public psyche linked to the English landscape garden, it is Lancelot Capability Brown, a man of his time and much sought after by nobility, especially by the Whig oligarchy that mainly ran Georgian Britain, having country estates in need of browning. With political stability at home, he was supremely fortunate being born at a time when conditions were right for him to change gardens forever. Brown brought the countryside to the doorstep of stately mansions, making great use of the ha-ha invented by Charles Bridgman, a sunken wall unseen from the house, keeping creatures at bay, yet inventing a vista where the pleasure garden appeared to melt seamlessly into the distant meadows. His contribution to Stowe was an early commission. Not much of Capability Brown's life is known before 1741, when, at the tender age of 25, he became head gardener for Lord Cobham, who, in 1733, had fallen out with Sir Robert Walpole, the Prime Minister. So he devoted all of his time to developing Stowe. Stowe is in North Buckinghamshire, now in the care of the National Trust. Much is the handiwork of Charles Bridgman and William Kent. Bridgman in 1713 prepared the original plan, which was developed by Kent from 1730 with a series of neoclassical buildings throughout the grounds. Brown fashioned the Grecian Valley, his first great creation, headed by a giant Greek temple, the Temple of Concord and Victory, and erected a monument to Lord Cobham in the shape of a Roman column, 100 feet high. When Lord Cobham died in 1749, Brown took the plunge, establishing himself as a freelance garden designer, and Croom in Worcestershire was an early achievement created from scratch. In addition to the park, Brown also designed the Palladium House, the first indication of his flair for architecture, but a skill not recognised today. The 6th Earl of Coventry was delighted, writing, "Mr. Brown has done very well by me," and further commissions soon followed, including from the 2nd Earl of Egremont at Petworth, West Sussex. The National Trust acquired Croom in 1996, when it was in a poor state. Variously, the house had been a school for disadvantaged boys, a Hare Krishna college, and even a secret wartime airbase. Much work and improvement has been accomplished, and although the house is not much more than a shell, the landscape garden created by Capability Brown is under restoration, being brought back to life as intended and certainly worth a visit. Petworth House and Park is a recognised example of a Capability Brown landscape. The classic view from the house painted by Turner around 1828 is a scene that has little changed today. Brown's involvement at Petworth was first mooted when he was at Stowe. He swept away the formal garden, a feature noticeably absent on a visit to Petworth House today. In came ha-has and lakes, with sweeping vistas towards the distant South Downs, all an integral part of the Earl's vision when he effected a massive spending spree by also refurnishing the house and accumulating priceless pictures for a new purpose-built gallery. By now, Brown had established an identifiable formula that appealed to the English aristocracy looking for an Arcadian world. He was a master of subtlety, making the most of what was already there. Out went the French formal garden, which he dismissed as foreign and alien. In came a natural garden, by crafting existing landscapes that had little merit into something more stimulating that to the casual eye could have been there for years. However, much of his inspirational ideas would take months of manpower when a JCB was unheard of, plus many years to mature, with some not fully realized at the time of his death. We are part of his legacy, who today can enjoy his amazing Garden of Eden creations. Brown's identifiable trademarks include the inconspicuous ha-ha, so named because that was what visitors would exclaim with surprise upon their discovery. Serpentine lakes, often shaped by widening or altering the courses of rivers, and the planting of thousands of trees, often arranged to frame a view. Brown's planting of Lebanon cedars was his iconic signature tree. They are at the end of their lifespan, but a prominent example remains at Croom, and hopefully for a little longer. At Rest Park in Bedfordshire, Brown was not allowed to remove the formal garden. Noted as a complete early 18th century formal landscape, it dates back to 1658. It was expanded after his death in 1830, when the house was rebuilt a little further north. Brown's influence is mostly on the periphery, especially the serpentine lakes that surround the garden, working around iconic features such as the Long Water, created before 1685. His work was recognized at Rest Park. An elegant column bearing his name was erected as a focal point that comes into view in an avenue of trees. Capability Brown's influence can be seen far and wide, from Northumberland to Devon, but some, such as Sheffield Park in East Sussex, have since been radically altered with new lakes. Neither did everything come to fruition. At Cambridge, the dons of the various colleges could not agree to Brown's plans for altering the route of the River Cam that flows through the Backs. His best work is found at Blenheim and Bowood, but other gems include Burley and Audley End. His death in 1783 was sudden, suffering a massive heart attack after dining with Lord Coventry. He lived at Hampton Court, but is buried in the churchyard at Fenstanton, Cambridgeshire, formerly Huntingdonshire, where he had purchased a manor house, but never moved in. Even with his royal position, he never gained a knighthood, no different apparently to other Georgian landscape artists and architects, but perhaps surprising in today's gong culture. However, his landscape legacy lives on, possibly in a way he could not have imagined, and now in a maturity that he could never hope to witness in full. Brown possessed a genial personality, had uncommon honesty and enormous professional confidence that commanded respect to the extent that his impressive list of clients included 6 prime ministers and half the House of Lords. He built up a successful business with an annual income equivalent to over £20 million today. When news of his death reached the ears of King George III, he was heard to comment, "Well, now we can do as we please." The final word is left to the English poet William Cowper, an extract from his poem The Garden. But is there not a touch of mockery here? Lo, he comes, the omnipotent magician. Brown appears, he speaks. The lake in front becomes a lawn. Woods vanish, hills subside, and valleys rise. And streams, as if created for his use, pursue the track of his directing wand.